Hello everyone, I'm Leslie and welcome once again to my channel and welcome once again to my kitchen. I hope that you all are doing great. Today's recipe is going to be French onion soup. And if you've never had French onion soup, believe me, you want to try this recipe for sure. It's perfect for this cold weather and it's kind of fancy in a way, only because it derives from France, of course. But it's definitely a soup that you want to try. So if you want to learn how to make French onion soup, please keep watching and I will show you exactly how to make it. Okay guys, so it looks like a lot of ingredients, but it really isn't a lot of ingredients for this soup. It's super simple, super easy, and believe me, if I can do it, so can you. I'm not a professional chef, I'm a home-taught cook. So if I can do it, like I said, you can totally do it as well. Okay, so you're going to need 4 sweet onions. They're about this size. They're pretty large. You can use any sweet onion that you want. Ideally, it would be a Vidalia onion, but if you don't have Vidalia, you can use whatever other sweet onion that you have. You're also going to need 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I have it here. Whatever brand butter, good quality butter that you have. I'm using 2 garlic cloves because these are pretty small. Look how small they are. You're also going to need 2 bay leaves. If your bay leaves are fresh and they're larger, definitely use 1, but I'm using 2 because they're dry and they're small. You're going to need 3 thyme sprigs, and this is actually fresh thyme, and it looks like this. It's nice and fresh. You're also going to need white wine. Traditionally in French onion soup, they use dry sherry, but I couldn't find dry sherry at my grocery store, so I just got white wine. You can use white wine, and I'm gonna use about a cup or 1 1/4 cups of white wine. You're also going to need salt and pepper to your taste, whatever you want to eat, however much you want to add, you go at it. You're also going to need 8 cups of good beef stock. I'm using unsalted beef stock. If you want to make your own, that will be better, but I'm using the store-bought kind. French bread. I couldn't find French bread at my grocery store, the Baguette, so I'm using regular French bread, and I already cut into it because I was trying to make the slices to put them in the oven. So, but yeah, you're gonna need French bread. And also you're going to need Gruyere cheese. And this is basically the second star of the show. I already grated some here, but this cheese is the traditional cheese that you use for French onion soup. If you want to use Swiss, you can also combine Swiss and Gruyere. I'm just using Gruyere, it's more traditional. I'm gonna put this aside and we're gonna get to chopping our onions. So we're gonna slice our onions in semi-thin slices. It just looks nicer in this soup once they're cooked. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so to our onions. All right, so just to show you guys how to chop these onions, we're gonna chop them at a diagonal like that. You don't want the slices to be too thin because they're gonna basically disintegrate as you cook them. So about that thickness is kind of the appropriate size. And these onions are caramelized. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means that you bring out the onion's natural sweetness by cooking it a long time. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, these are caramelized onions, you know, and they say it doesn't take very long at all. And those onions are indeed not caramelized because caramelizing onions takes a long time, about 35 minutes to even an hour. So if you want to appropriately caramelize onions, you definitely have to do it nice and slow. All right, let's move on to our garlic. All right, so we're just gonna mince this. That is good for our garlic. So we're done with the chopping process. Now let's get cooking. All right, guys, so now I have my pot heating, and I have a cast iron pot, and it's pretty heavy, so you want to use one of these pots. If you don't have one of these pots, don't stress about it, just use whatever pot you have. And I'm heating it, and it's on medium low to low, because you don't want to burn, like I said, you don't want to burn these onions. So you're going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter. All right, so our butter is melting. As you can see, my butter is going at it already, and it's not burning. So now you're gonna add your onions in here. And you are gonna start cooking them. So, like I said, my heat is on medium low. All right, so I'm going to increase the heat a little bit, and I already increased it to medium. Now my heat is at medium because it was way too low. You're just going to cook them nice and slow. All right, so we're gonna leave this alone for a little bit, and we're gonna let them cook, and then we're gonna come back to them and see how they're progressing. Okay guys, so while my onions are cooking, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, just so our butter does not burn. And we're just gonna let it keep doing its thing. So for bread, you're going to need a good, nice, crusty bread. And ideally, it would be French baguette. But like I said earlier, I could not find French baguette anywhere. So I'm using French bread, regular French bread. I love bread. I love bread so much. It's like, it should be a sin to love bread so much. I think it is a sin to love bread so much, but forgive me, Lord. Anyways, all right, so I'm just going to cut my bread into nice thin slices, but not too thin. So now I'm just going to drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil just so they get a nice golden crust on them. All right guys, our bread is nice and toasty. We can't keep it in there longer because it's gonna burn. So here we are, it's nice and golden brown, and that is exactly what you want. You don't want burned bread. All right guys, so our onions are continuing to cook, and as you can see, they're not burning. They're kind of just sweating through. Here's our garlic, just add it in there. All right, so we're just gonna let these cook a little longer, for a long while longer, and then we'll come back and check them, and I will be stirring them occasionally as time goes by. As you can see, look how much darker our onions are getting, and that's exactly what you want. They're getting darker, but yet they're not burning. All right guys, so at this point, these onions have been cooking about 45 minutes. So we have about 15 more minutes, and I think we should be good enough to go. So at this point, I'm gonna add my 3 sprigs of thyme, fresh, and 2 bay leaves. And we're just gonna get that going along with our onions to finish caramelizing. Also, you guys, if your stove is better, this one is not the best stove that anybody could ever have. But I'm just awaiting my kitchen to get done, and that stove will be much better than this one. But I'm working with what I have, and it just works. It works. So you don't need to have a big fancy stove for this to cook. It just takes a little longer, but it's fine. It's all fine. All right, so guys, at this point, these onions are nice and caramelized, and I'm going to go ahead and add my wine and kind of let it deglaze everything that's at the bottom and on the sides, of course. Also gonna go ahead and add some freshly ground black pepper. So here is our beef stock. This is 4 cups. And I'm going to use another 4 cups. We're gonna let this simmer for another 25 to 30 minutes. See you back in a little bit. All right, guys, so this is the final step of finishing off your French onion soup. Normally the French use these single bowls that have a little handle on them, but I couldn't find those. So I just got these bowls, and as you can tell, they're not the same because I couldn't find 3 of the same kind. I don't know, they were out of stock of this ones, and then these are the only 2 that they had available. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna pour some soup into each one. Make sure that you don't get any of the thyme stems or the bay leaves, because you don't want to bite into one of those at all. This one, which will be mine. We're gonna grab a few pieces or a couple pieces of bread, and we're gonna put them into each bowl like this. And we're gonna add some Gruyere cheese on top. And when I mean some, I mean a good bit. Look at this. I mean a good bit. You wanna pile it on there. Now that our bowls are ready, we're gonna go ahead and pop these in the oven for a few minutes, just so that the cheese melts and it becomes nice and crusty at the top. So let's pop them in the oven. Okay guys, I'm pulling the soup out of the oven. Beautiful. Yummos. Cannot wait to taste. All right, now time to eat. I mean, if you can look at this, I'm trying not to, I don't want to drop it, but look at this. All that cheesy, here. Let me give you a different angle. You deserve for waiting that long. Yum. Oh. That's what you want. Perfection right there. All right, so now let's taste. We gotta blow on this, because if not, you're gonna royally burn your mouth, believe me. That cheese is almost gummy in a sense, but gummy in a good way. And that bread is nice and soggy from that broth. And the onions, they melt in your mouth. They're so sweet. And you can taste the herbs, the broth. I mean, everything is just perfect. It's hot. It is so good. The long process was 100% worth the wait. I mean, this soup is perfect. It's elegant. It's beautiful. Like, the flavors are perfection. And I used to shy away from it because it looked weird, but believe me, looks have nothing to do with the taste. The taste is beyond delicious. So I hope that you do try this recipe, because it is to die for. So this is it for my video, you guys. I'm gonna continue enjoying my soup just because it is way too hot and I have to let it cool down because it's burning my mouth. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for staying with me this long making this soup, but honestly, it is worth it. I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Also, before I go, please like this video if you did like it. Subscribe to my channel, please, please, please. And leave a comment if you want to leave a comment about this soup, or if you want to suggest something, please let me know. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye.